Hello, viewers. Here is your success coach, John D. Today, I want to share with you 5 things I learned from my dad. My dad is one of the most amazing person I've ever lived with. The most interesting, the most amazing, the most caring and loving person I've ever witnessed since my stay on this earth. So today, I want to share with you 5 things I learned from him. Number one, my dad is a great inspirer. He loves inspiring people. He loves motivating people at work, at home, in the church. That is what he was. A friend of mine was even telling me that there was a time that my dad called him aside and said, "Hey boy, you've got to do something meaningful with your life. As old as you are now, this is the time for you to get yourself an apartment and get it furnished in preparation for the wife that you are going to marry." And that jet that my friends up, and he started making adequate preparation for his marriage. That's what my father is all about. He loves inspiring people. He loves seeing people successful. And I believe that my desire in seeing people successful also stems from his own desire. There was even a time I told my dad, when I wanted to go on here, I wanted to start motivating people on the radio. So I told my dad, I think I was in 200 level, 300 level. Then I said, "Dad, please, I want to go on here. I want to start motivating people on the radio." My father said, "What are you talking about? Go right on. Go right on. I see you succeeding." Wow, that do it good in my mind and my heart like mercy. So that's what my dad was all about. He is an inspirer. Number two, my dad is good at forgetting the past. So many people offended my dad, but my dad never took it to mind. He will always while it away. He will always wipe it away. He will always do everything in his power to forget it. When it was even time for my dad to marry my mom, my dad's parents were like, "Wow, it's not possible, you can go right on. No, she's this, she's that." But my father said, "I loved her. I loved her." And it was because my dad loves my mom, and that's why I'm here today, right here, standing behind this camera, and you at the other side watching me, motivating people. And I'm telling you, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. Why? Because my dad chose my mom and loved her unconditionally, and that's why John D is here motivating you. But at the end of the day, my dad ended up marrying my mom, and you know what? My dad never took that against his parents. He loved them genuinely until their death. My grandma died in year 2000, and my grandfather died in year 2009. In fact, he died in my father's house. So what are we talking about? My dad is good at forgetting the past. So I love my dad. You can't tell me not to love him. Although he's dead right now, but his memory still lingers. Say, precious memories, how they linger. Number three, my dad is a learner. He learns. He's a change agent, willing to change and also to change others. How as a person, I grew up to see my dad and mom living in different rooms, but all of a sudden I just saw them living together. They start using the same room, sleeping on the same bed. Only God knows what happened to my dad, and that was how it was until he breathed his last. Number four, my father was a great provider. A great provider. He was a teacher and at the same time a farmer. Diligent, hardworking. Any spare time he has, he will use it on the farm. For what reason? Just to feed me. And if you know me very well, I can eat. And at that time, my father will always poke fun at all. my brothers and I, they say, all of you, you are all consumers. You are not producers. Because we can eat. Ha! If it is eating, we can eat. Oh, well, we are just rejoicing. Why? Because we have a Father that is hardworking. Because there will always be food, enough and to spare. My school fees were taken care of. You know, I'm going to school. When I got admission to Federal University of Technology, Minna, I always have food to take along. There was even a time after the semester I still have enough to spare, so I brought it back home. And my dad said, "Why did you bring it back home? Give it to those people there, the student that doesn't. You should have given it out to them." That's who my father was, an hard worker and a giver. So I love my dad. I love him so much. So you've got to love your own dad too while he's still alive. My dad is no more now, but I thank God. I thank my stars. Why? Because I loved him while he was still alive, and I still love him now while he was still no more. And when we get there, when we get to heaven, I know we'll still see each other again. I will still love him the more. So my dad was a great provider. Number 5, I learned from my father to be a role model to others, because my dad was my role model. He was my mentor. Yes, he believed in me so much that he pushed me. He encouraged me to start talking on the radio, and now I've been doing that for the past 6 years. 6 years. Why? Because my dad encouraged me. He never said that, "Oh, go and check up your pedigree, the family tree, your family line. Has anybody ever thought of talking on the radio? And you said you want to go there." He never said that. He said, "Go right on. I see you succeeding," because he was my mentor. You know, every morning, who born you well? Not to wake up 5:30 a.m. You know, born you well, oh, except if you no dey for house. But if you dey for that house, you must stand up 5:30 a.m. My papa no dey miss that time. You know, they miss am. You know, him don't wake up so tey that 5:25 a.m. my eyes don't open, because I know say the next thing I go hear on my door na knock. Pam, 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 pam. It's time for morning prayer. It was one of those morning prayer that my dad, as he was teaching the Sunday school, he just said, "No, today I'm not going to teach. All of you are going to talk one by one." And when it was my turn, I guess that was the very first time that my dad had me teach. He never knew that I could actually do it. So when he gave me the opportunity to talk and I started talking, my dad was dazed. He opened his mouth down like this, because he never knew I could do that. And you know what happened? In my family church, there's something we call AVS. You know, they go for house fellowship like that, and there's a pamphlet. And as at that time, I'm yet to be an AVS member. You know what my dad did? You know what he did? He said, "John, where I used to go and teach, you will be the one to go there. You will be the one to do what? To go there." I was like, wow. So my dad, he believed in me, and you know what? I went there and I did excellently well. And that happens to be the beginning of my teaching career. So my dad was my role model, my mentor. He believed in me. You know where I am today? That's a result of my father. That's a result of his input into my life. You know, I will always tell people that I'm a person that used to fail. If there's anything I know how to do best, my boy is failing. I know how to fail. I know how to fail. You know, I take my degree, bachelor, PhD, and even I'm an emeritus when it comes to failing. But my dad never stopped believing in me. He never spoke derogatory remarks about my failing. You know, there was a day he just said, "John, what is wrong with you?" And I'm telling you, that was an eye-opener. He never abuses me. He never said, "Okay, you are good for nothing." The only thing he asked me that day was, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm telling you, that particular question opened up my destiny, because I went to one corner and I was asking myself the same question he asked me. That, "Oh boy, what is wrong with you? What exactly is wrong with you?" And you know what? That marks the end of my failing. So I love my dad. So those are the 5 things I learned from my father. I love him so much, but God loves him much, and that's why he called him home. So my people, my listeners out there, please, you've got to love your father while he's still alive. Love him so much. And